Earlier today, I was tweeted a Mr. H reviews video about Captain Marvel and the demise of the MCU. Now, they told me it was a good theory. They said, "Oh, Matt, you got to see this. This is a good theory. This guy gets it." Okay, cool. Never heard of him before. Checked out his video, subscribed to the channel. Sounded all well and good. Except there was a slight problem with Mr. H's video on this topic. He never answered his own question. He never really answered his own statement. He talks about Captain Marvel, Brie Larson, her comments regarding the press tour, inclusion, the diversity, all those sort of things, but never goes on to actually talk about why she could cause the demise of the MCU. Never talked long term, never answered his own question. And I thought that was a little bit on the interesting side because it was a good video, but it never fulfilled its promise based upon the title. Didn't. So I kind of want to comment on that as well as reiterate, give my points as to why I think that would happen. So looking at Captain Marvel from a non-political basis, just the character entering into the story at this point in time, it does feel a little bit rushed or not at the right moment. And I'll tell you guys why. So over the course of the past 11 years and just a few months, 11 years, we have been watching the Marvel Cinematic Universe unfold. It's grown, it's evolved, its characters have grown, they've evolved. Tony Stark, Thor, Doctor Strange have all humbled themselves from where they were in their original adventure, from where we found them originally in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. They have humbled themselves to become great heroes. Captain America has fought against his own government, his own people, his own friends in order to preserve his values. He has had to go down that hard road, which found him losing the shield and the moniker of Captain America. We've seen these characters go through actual changes, and we, the audience, have been there with them in what has been proposed as real time, minus the Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. So when you look at the idea of Captain Marvel coming in right now to be a big part of Endgame, it kind of feels, well, cheap. If I'm being honest, it feels cheap. Captain Marvel comes across as basically Superman, but for Marvel. It does. She really does. Some kind of clone of Superman is how I view Captain Marvel. Kind of impervious to all, injury, and everyone likes her. It's kind of like a Mary Sue. Kind of comes across a little bit like a Mary Sue based upon how people have been treating her in the media, handling the entire movie with kid gloves, handling the ego of Brie Larson with kid gloves, all while trying to decry all detractors as being just sniveling, racist, bigoted Klansmen crybabies, which I've been referred to as multiple times because I pointed out this particular level of protection. But that's not what I'm trying to get to. I'm not trying to get to that, but that does kind of play a part. So look, the journey to get from Iron Man in May of 2008 to Endgame in May of 2019 is one that fans have been watching for over a decade. People have grown up with these characters. They know these characters. They relate to these characters. They identify with these characters, and they want to see them complete the journey. There's a reason why out of the people who survived the snap, the original avenging team, Avengers, were ones who survived. There's a reason for that. They're going to go up against Thanos because they're going to have to work together in order to stop him and undo the snap. So if Captain Marvel shows up and she is overpowered as all hell, that could end up really removing the emotional impact that came from Infinity War. And if you think about it, the emotional impact that came from Infinity War showed us the scenes of everyone working together. And I just get the impression that bringing Captain Marvel is she's going to screw up. She's just going to fight Thanos one-on-one and she's going to win. That's been talked about before. Kevin Feige has referred to her as the strongest person in the MCU thus far. And Thanos doesn't need to be defeated by the strongest person. He needs to be defeated by teamwork, as we saw when Doctor Strange and Iron Man and Peter Quill and Mantis and Drax and Spider-Man all fought him on Titan and almost had the gauntlet off of him without Peter screwing it up. But again, that was part of an evolution, right? The evolution that we followed from Peter and Gamora meeting in Guardians 1, Peter and Gamora liking each other in Guardians 1, that relationship continuing to blossom in Guardians 2 to Infinity War when they finally kiss. That was an emotional moment. And then, of course, Peter losing his mind when he finds out that Gamora, the one woman he's ever truly loved, is dead, and how it caused this snap. There was consequences to emotionally driven reactions. That was a consequence of character. That was part of an arc. That's the whole point. is that these characters have arcs. I don't know what Captain Marvel's is. I don't know if we're going to see it in the movie. I don't know if it's going to be even properly explained in the movie. From what I've heard from social media reactions, it's a lot of winking and head nods to previous MCU events. It's a very self-aware movie. She gets a lot of praise, but it ultimately went to Ben Mendelsohn and praising the bad guy. Brie Larson has not been getting a lot of the love in regards to her performance, and I'm wondering how that's going to tie into Endgame. Now, like I said before, I completely have faith in the Russos. They know how to tell a good story, and I think at this point, because they've been working on these characters for so long, they want to make them the forefront. But it does almost kind of feel like Kevin Feige and the powers that be at Marvel wanting to push Phase 4 as hard as they were in regards to trying to talk about the cosmic side of things from a couple years ago. I think they maybe shoehorned Captain Marvel in. They wanted to push the release of the movie to right before, 6 weeks before the release of Endgame, because they wanted to make sure people knew that it was coming. And if, again, a lot of the social media reactions that I've seen have been people saying, bring on Endgame, because people want to see that. They want that conclusion to that emotional roller coaster they've been on for 10 plus years. There is an absolute reason for that. I don't know if Captain Marvel is going to be able to bring that to the table, and any kind of deviation from that is only going to cause a rift, is only going to cause a reaction that is going to possibly split the fan base in two, similar to The Last Jedi. And if this turns into a Last Jedi situation where it's identity politics and the way the press handled it and the fans' reaction to Captain Marvel was so bad, it might actually end up having an impact on films past Endgame. Definitely not Endgame, but past Endgame. If Brie Larson's Captain Marvel is set to actually end up leading the way for the next 10 years as what they've stipulated or they've suggested, then if this does not go off without a hitch, if this ends up catching a snag, then that could turn into lower box office sales. And if you think for a second that won't actually happen, I invite you to go look at Solo. Solo had a lot of things going against it, but one of the biggest factors was The Last Jedi. Was the failures with that film that led into Solo getting completely tanked in the box office. So when you look at Captain Marvel and what it could mean for the overall MCU in the future, yes, it's entirely possible that Captain Marvel could cause the demise of the MCU, but it wouldn't be an immediate thing. It's like death by 1,000 cuts. That's what could happen. And if the media if they love the MCU, what they claim, and they don't back off of this false narrative of review bombing, reviews that don't exist, then it's only going to further push that divide. Because there are people on YouTube right now that are crafting videos saying Brie Larson is open for violence against men, which is not true. There are people out there that are trying to push the narrative that Brie Larson just wants to destroy the MCU. That's not true. And they do it because they know they get a reaction out of the audience. I'm legitimately trying to explain the situation from a person who's been in it, at least from a fan's perspective, for over 10 years and understands other fandoms, other fan cultures, as well as the industry as a whole. So I'm telling you this from the most straightforward perspective I could think of. If the media, and I'm going back to this because it's an important thing, doesn't stop what it's doing. It doesn't matter if Brie Larson gives the best performance of her career. It will not matter. People will already get that mindset and they will not go see the movies, and then it will end up ultimately causing a rift in the MCU. But hey, listen, I don't think it's going to cause the demise of the MCU. It could on the Captain Marvel side of things, but Captain Marvel was planned and already put into pre-production and everything else before the Fox deal took place. So if Captain Marvel ends up crashing and burning, the contingency is there's always another. The Leia contingency actually works here because the Leia contingency is Wolverine and the X-Men and Fantastic Four and Deadpool and the 600 some odd characters that Fox has that will soon be back in the palms of Kevin Feige. So trust me when I say Captain Marvel will not destroy the MCU. She could damn well damage it for a while, that's for certain, but ultimately no, things are going to be okay. That's what I just wanted to kind of reiterate what Mr. H Reviews had said, and then add on what I think he left out, which was a conclusion to his thesis. Anyway, look, your thoughts, your opinions. I am curious to know. I really am. Let me know down in the comments below. I will talk to you guys later. Have yourself a great day and peace out. Hey, thank you so much for watching the video. I greatly appreciate it. While you're here, feel free to check out that subscribe button. Help with the channel out. Or you can watch any of the newest videos and make sure that you're caught up to date with what's going on in Hollywood and entertainment. So that way, when you're at work tomorrow, you can wow your friends with the information you learned from watching these videos. That's right, I said it. Subscribe.